when you're driving, sometimes you just hit this perfect spot.
Mm.
The engine noise kind of fades, the ride gets smooth, and you're just gliding. It's that sweet spot for fuel efficiency.
They call it economic speed or your optimal RPM.
Exactly. And it got me thinking, does that exist for life? A pace where you're not burning out, but you're also not, you know, rusting in the garage.
That is the big question, isn't it? And that's what we're going to dive into today. We're looking at whether there's a sustainable, productive speed for your life.
A speed that avoids the two big dangers. First, going too slow, just idling, going nowhere.
And second, hitting that red zone, going way too fast, risking a total burnout.
So our mission today is to look at some, well, pretty heavy-hitting philosophies.
From ancient Indian texts like the Bhagavad Gita, all the way to Stoicism and modern existentialism. We're trying to define what a virtuous, balanced, personal speed actually looks like.
And finding it feels critical. It's about figuring out what we can control versus what we can't.
Precisely. It's about mastering your own engine, your own effort, and learning to detach from the things you can't control, like external outcomes or what society expects of you.
Okay, let's start with that first danger then, being too slow. That feeling of stagnation. We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely. And the metaphor in the source material is perfect. It says that idling for too long leads to carbo buildup in the engine of the self.
I like that. It's like you're not just wasting time, you're actively harming the machinery.
You are. That inaction starts to breed self-reproach. You're watching all the other cars fly by and you start wondering, what's wrong with me? You're just burning through the fuel of your own self-esteem.
And the longer you sit there, the heavier the car feels. Just putting it in gear seems like this monumental task.
It is. And this isn't a new problem. This brings us right to Hindu philosophy and the concept of dharma,
Duty, right.
duty, or one's proper role. The Bhagavad Gita specifically talks about svadharma acting in accordance with your true nature and responsibilities. To ignore that, well, that leads to internal chaos.
The famous example is Arjuna, the warrior in the Mahabharata. He's on the battlefield, sees his own family on the other side, and he just wants to stop. He wants to put the car in park.
And Krishna's response is basically, you can't. Your duty, your dharma as a warrior, is to fight for what is right. So the very first step, according to this view, is just to act. Inaction itself is a destructive choice.
But wait a minute. How does that square with our modern ideas of freedom? If my duty is already set, where's my choice? That's where existentialism comes in, isn't it?
That's the perfect tension to explore. Because you have Jean-Paul Sartre comes along and says the complete opposite. His famous line is, existence precedes essence.
Meaning we're not born with a purpose, like a paper knife is made to cut paper.
Exactly. We just exist first, we show up. And only then, through our choices and our actions, do we define who we are. There's no pre-written script for a human.
So in that view, Arjuna's duty isn't some cosmic assignment. It's the role he has to choose to accept and then take responsibility for.
Yes. And Sartre says this freedom is terrifying. He calls it anguish. Because when you choose, you're not just choosing for you. You're setting an example for what a human being should be.
So how does this connect back to being too slow?
Well, Sartre would say that blaming your situation, blaming fate or your genetics or anything else for the fact that your car is idling, that's bad faith. It's a denial of your own freedom and responsibility.
So whether you see it as an innate duty you have to perform or a radical freedom you have to embrace, the answer to stagnation is the same.
It is. You have to accept responsibility, define your purpose, and put the car in gear.
Okay, so once we're moving, the problem flips. Now we have to avoid the red zone over speeding.
Which is such a modern problem. We're all pushed to live this hyper-productive life.
Right, that idea of saying this God-tier life you see on social media where everyone's waking up at 5 a.m. and maximizing every second.
And that speed has very real costs. When you're driving that fast, your vision narrows. You literally can't see the periphery.
You don't see the scenery. You don't see the person sitting next to you. All you see are the taillights of the car you're trying to pass.
And you become incredibly fragile. A tiny pebble on the road, something you'd normally just drive over,
Can send you spinning, out of control. A small mistake at work becomes a full-blown crisis or burnout because you have no margin for error. Your engine is already screaming.
This is where we need a framework to manage the stress that comes with that kind of high-stakes living.
And this is where the Stoics are so helpful.
Absolutely. Their foundational tool is the dichotomy of control. They draw a very, very sharp line between what's in our power and what is not.
Our opinions, our choices, our desires, those are ours.
But our body, our reputation, what other people do, Those are external. They're outside of our direct control.
So for Stoics like Epictetus, happiness isn't about controlling the world, it's about mastering your own internal reactions to it. You focus on your effort, on your intent, and that's it.
Everything else is what they call an indifferent. It's not good or bad. It's
Yeah.
just material. Material for you to practice virtue on.
And virtue is the only true good. Things like wisdom, justice, courage. So those external metrics, did I get the promotion? Am I living that God-saying life? They just don't define your worth.
It's a powerful cognitive firewall.
It is, but what if the desire to control your own mind is part of the problem?
This is where Buddhism takes a slightly different path,
A
right?
very different path. It shifts the focus from cognitive control to emotional non-attachment.
Okay, unpack that.
So Buddhism teaches that suffering, dukkha, comes from craving or clinging, tanha. We cling to good feelings and try to push away bad ones.
Which is exhausting.
It's the definition of suffering. The antidote is equanimity, or upekkha. It's a state of balance where you can observe your feelings, good and bad, with patience without getting ucked by them.
So it's not apathy. It's not that you don't care.
Not at all. It's emotional freedom. It frees you from needing to control the results. Think about it. If you aren't desperately attached to a project succeeding, you can pour all your energy into doing it well for its own sake. Failure doesn't destroy you. Which brings us right back to the Bhagavad Gita. It has a specific term for this, doesn't it?
It does. Nishkama karma. Action without attachment to the fruits of that action.
And there's this amazing line in the text that speaks directly to our modern anxiety.
Those who are motivated only by desire for the fruits of action are miserable, for they are constantly anxious about the results of what they do.
It just cuts the anxiety off at the source. If you act from duty with virtuous intent and you're detached from the result, you can maintain that optimal speed. The ups and downs of the external world can't throw you off course.
So we have our guardrails. We need to act, but not too fast, and we need to act without clinging to the outcome.
Which brings us to the big question. How do you find your unique fuel efficiency? It's not written on someone else's speedometer.
It has to be an internal signal. You have to listen to your own engine.
Is it roaring too loud? Is the whole car shaking? That's the red zone. Is it sputtering, or is there just silence? That's a stall. You're listening for that quiet, efficient hum.
And the Gita gives us a metric for that. It says, to succeed, you must lift yourself up by yourself. The mind alone can be your greatest asset or your worst enemy. It all comes down to self-mastery.
This ideal state of motion, it finds its most beautiful expression, I think, in Taoism, the idea of wu wei.
Effortless action, which is so often misunderstood.
It's not about being lazy and doing nothing.
No, not at all. It's about acting in harmony with the natural flow of things, with the Tao. It's like a boatman using the river's current instead of trying to row against it. The Tao Te Ching says the saint acts without effort, and so does not fail.
It's the ultimate efficiency. Finding the path of least resistance without sacrificing momentum. It's gentleness overcoming brute force. That, to me, sounds like the optimal RPM in practice.
But there's one more piece we can't forget. We can't just optimize for ourselves in a vacuum.
The social context.
Right. While a philosophy like Stoicism is very focused on the individual, Confucianism pulls the camera back to look at our relationships and our community.
That's a crucial point. If your optimal speed means you're cutting everyone else off on the highway, then it's not a virtuous speed.
Exactly. For Confucius, the ideal person, the Junzi, is defined by their moral excellence within a social web, by virtues like Ren, which is benevolence, and Lai, which is proper conduct.
Your actions have to balance your own efficiency with your responsibility to others.
The ultimate goal in Confucianism is the great harmony, the Ta Tong, a society that functions so well because everyone is acting virtuously that you barely need laws. So your personal speed must contribute to the harmony of the whole fleet.
So if we put it all together, the optimal RPM is that speed where your effort feels seamless, like wu wei,
Where your intention is pure, like Nishkama karma.
and where your inner character, your virtue, is maintained no matter what's happening on the road around you. It's an internal calibration.
And that leads to the core takeaway for you listening to this. The best speed is not the fastest one. It's the speed that leaves you with enough energy to actually enjoy the destination.
Enough energy to share a cup of tea with the people who greet you and to look back at the journey and feel good about it.
Right. And this whole conversation has been about human responsibility, which was the heart of 20th century existentialism. But things are changing.
We're moving into what some are calling existentialism 2.0.
We are, because now we have to contend with artificial life forms, ALFs. Finding your speed requires judgment and self-mastery. But we are, at an incredible rate, delegating those very functions.
We're giving them away to AI, to algorithms, to what some are even calling the super god or SG.
If our whole existence is defined by freedom and the responsibility that comes with it, what happens when we outsource the core act of decision-making to a non-human entity?
That's a profound and frankly terrifying question.
It brings up thinkers like Nietzsche. He talked about master morality, which is about strength and the will to create your own values, versus slave morality, which values comfort and obedience.
Oh.
If we become subservient to the computational power of ALFs, because it's easier,
Are we choosing slave morality on a species-wide level?
it's the question we have to ask. If we let our desire for ease lead us to hand over the steering wheel entirely, what's left of the human project we work so hard to define at our own economic speed?
So the final thought for you is this. As you work to find your own optimal pace, what pace do we collectively need to set to preserve our own self-directed humanity?